Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Again, welcome. My name is Diallo, and welcome to our current events Monday. Let's start that again, Joe. Let's start that over again, Joe. So, Joe, we're gonna start that over again. So, I'm gonna pause it, and when you see me unpause it. All right, Joe, we're gonna get it going. Look good. Let's see what we look like. All right, we're good. Still missing something. Hold on. There it is. Missing my water. My throat's dry.
Okay.
Oh, holy deliciousness. All right, Joe, ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good day, ladies and gentlemen, here and abroad. Welcome to Current Events Monday here at ASAP. Again, my name is Diallo. And if you're having a hard time seeing my face, now you can see my face. Again, my name is Diallo. And today, being Monday, December 7th, 2020. Now, on this day in 1941, what happened? Just so we get off the start for our current events, on this day in 1941, what happened? Let's see if we can find out. Does anybody here? I know somebody at home has to know. So December 7th, 1941, what's a huge event that happened?
I was just born.
You were just born on that day?
1940.
1940?
February 9th.
But what's a huge thing that happened in Hawaii, December 7th, 1941? Something happened in Hawaii. Where the Japanese came on American soil and did what? Pearl Harbor. Pearl Harbor, exactly. Terrible time in world history, period. We have a huge attack like that where you had hundreds of sailors die, right? And some of the ships at Pearl Harbor, they never brought back up again. They kept them down there because if they brought them, they were unsalvageable. So you still have sailors that were stuck in those ships and they were flipped upside down, so the sailors couldn't get out. So in order to get some of those sailors out, they had to try to weld the hull of the ship into a hole so they could get in there. But again, the ship is like this thick full of metal, right? So it's hard to weld that. And as they were welding, they could hear the men beating on the hull from the inside, saying, "We're here, we're here." And eventually those guys ran out of air or they drowned. So even to this day, on some of those ships in Pearl Harbor in Hawaii, there's still the sailors' remains in there.
Wow.
They're still in the ships.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, they're still in there. Nobody's ever gone there because it's considered basically a national cemetery. So you can't. It's illegal for you to go in there and try to dig up bones and stuff. Scary, huh? Can you imagine that? That you're asleep in your bunk in 1941 at Pearl Harbor. You're asleep in your ship in your bunk, and it's pitch black, and that's the last thing you remember is being pitch black, and you have no air, and you know you're gonna die. Right. I mean, I don't even know what would go through your head at that point when you know you're going to die.
Wow.
And some of these guys were 17, 18, 19 years old. These kids, right? Kids. But that started America's entrance into World War II. Once that happened, America declared war on Japan and Japan's allies, which were Germany and Italy. Whoa. How about that, huh? Let's look at a story. At Pearl Harbor attack, these men fought back. 3 East Bay survivors of Japanese strike retell their stories as other pay tribute. As Japanese bombs and bullets rained down on him, 17-year-old Earl Chuck Collier ran out of the Ford Island office hangar, grabbed a machine gun, hopped into an aircraft, and started firing at the sky. Man. The Minnesota farm boy turned seaman and another sailor ignored orders to seek shelter and instead took to defending their ground amid the terror that early morning on December 7th, 1941. Nearby, Michael Mickey Ginich on the dry dock USS Pennsylvania, BB-38, and Clarence Biel on the USS St. Louis, CL-39, also came under heavy fire as the Japanese swept through Oahu's skies in a surprise attack that would leave 2,403 people dead.
Wow.
Man. Ginech, an Ohio native, was in uniform to practice for a big football game when the first wave of Japanese Zeros bore down over his battleship, while Bile mostly remembers the smoke and explosions before his light cruiser managed to reach the open sea, begin a hunt for the Japanese fleet. Wow. So he was in his football uniform getting ready to practice on his ship, and this happened. So in order to save ships from being bombed, some of these ships had to get out of the port to get to the open ocean. And in the end, they were at the same time, they were trying to find the Japanese fleet for which these attacks came from, which was done by Yamamoto, which he was the carrier captain, was Yamamoto. And he actually ended up committing suicide. And ritual suicide, which what they do is they take a giant knife, a sword, they stick it in their belly, and they rip it across, and then they fall over dying, and they're basically their best friend or the most trusted person they know takes another sword and chops off their head.
Oh my God.
I think it's called Bushido. Yeah, it's a sacred Japanese way of committing ritualized suicide. So if you've done wrong for whatever you're at, like say you let down your whole entire country, you're so distraught that it's in the culture to commit suicide because you didn't do well. Yeah. Ugh. So let's see. So we're at the part so Ginech, an Ohio native, was in uniform to practice for a big football game when the first wave of Japanese Zeros bore down over his battleship. While Bao mostly remembers the smoke and explosions before his light cruiser managed to reach the open up sea and begin a hunt for the Japanese fleet. Flash forward 79 years, and the trio Ginech, Biel, and Biel, both now San Leandro residents, and Collier, a Concord resident, will recount their experiences in a Pearl Harbor Remembrance Day program commemorating that day of infamy that would catapult the United States into World War II. Man. So that's crazy, isn't it? Ugh. Like I said, most of those kids were kids. They were 17, 18, 19 years old. I couldn't imagine me myself being 18 years old and being in a war zone somewhere out in the middle of the Pacific or in Europe, being shot at by other kids that are 17, 18 years old. And you have a bunch of old men who are in their 70s that just go, oh, these people are cannon fodder. You know, you have regiments that are literally there just to be sacrificed because they're never close to the front line, so they have no idea what the common man goes through in a war. Ugh. It's terrible. War is horrible. There's no such thing as a clean war. It just doesn't happen. War is gonna have innocent people die. Lots of innocent people die. Let's see what else we got. Here's kind of a sad story. Okay. I think it's a sad story. It says single mom lost her job, fears home is next. Alita Ramirez has worked 2 or 3 jobs most of her life. She lost all of them in the early stages of California's shelter-in-place order, and over the months that followed, she also lost the thousands of dollars she'd been able to save from working over the years. In September, her rent check bounced when a car insurance payment automatically deducted from her bank account and brought her savings $100 short. I've had that happen. when you need to pay a bill and something comes out automatically that you forgot about, and now you have less money than you need to pay a bill. I've had that happen. Oof, that's annoying. That's scary. I don't have that happen anymore though. I make sure I got money in the bank. So again, in September, her rent check bounced when a car insurance payment automatically deducted from her bank account, brought her savings $100 short. She spent her last dollars on the $25 charge she said her landlord made her pay for the bounce check. Wow. So her landlord made her pay the $25 fee because he got charged a fee for the bounce check. So that's only fair because he got charged for it, so she should be charged for it as well. That's all. I think that's fair. But October was the first time in her life she missed a rent payment. That was this October. She missed a rent payment for the first time in her life. Ramirez, her 11-year-old daughter, and 21-year-old autistic nephew live at Clayton Crossings, a South Concord complex of nearly 300 apartments. Most tenants received a rent increase just as school started in September. The rent on her 3-bedroom apartment has increased nearly $500 since she moved in 3 years ago to $1,868 a month. Still, that's about $1,000 below the market rate, according to the renting platform Zumper. A dozen distressed tenants gathered in October in front of the property to protest the rent increase and demand management make needed repairs. Neither the building's owner nor the Avenue 5 residential, neither the building's owner nor Avenue 5's residential. Sometimes newspapers, they need to proofread some stuff. They just throw it in there and let me proofread it. Because neither the building's owner nor Avenue 5 residential. Okay, so neither the building's owner nor Avenue 5 residential, the building's management company, responded to requests for comment. Clayton's Crossing qualifies as affordable housing under the federal low-income housing tax credit program. Since March, Ramirez has been making about $150 in a good week, she says, running deliveries for Instacart, a gig job she can pick up on weekends. But that happens only when she can convince a friend to watch her daughter. We're going to take a short little break right here, just 1 second. Hey, Henrietta. Hey, Henrietta. All right, so we left off, we were talking about a single mom who lost her job because of the pandemic. Okay. And she lives in an affordable housing complex where her rent, since she's moved in 3 years ago, has gone up $500. Wow. And in October, lots of people in her housing unit decided to stage a protest with the landlord saying that they should suspend payments because of the pandemic, right? Rent payments because of the pandemic. Let's read on. Since March, Ramirez has been making about $150 in a good week, she says, running deliveries for Instacart, a gig job she can pick up on weekends. But that happens only when she can convince a friend to watch her daughter. Emily, who goes to virtual school. Those days leave Ramirez with a few hours to make a few dollars. Her nephew has also been able to pick up 2 shifts a week at a local McDonald's. Ramirez, 42, now has less than 2 months to pay a quarter of her rent for the months of October to December under the state's order protecting renters. What? She has 2 months to pay a quarter of the rent, so she has 2 months to basically pay $2,000.
Wow.
And she's already behind in law. I mean, that's insane. She can't make that payment. That's insane. So she fears eviction won't be far down the line. If she gets kicked out, she says, there's no way she'll be able to find an adequate housing for the 3 of them at her current price. even if she does convince a landlord to rent, so let me see that again. Where's that? Even if she does convince a landlord to rent to an unemployed single caregiver of two, how would she pay for a security deposit? She says she's already been fasting to save on food. Her car's registration fees are past due. So she's in a world of hurt right now. She can barely pay for her food, so she's not eating as much. Her car payment's past due. So if she doesn't make her car payment, she can't drive.
Wow.
Which means she can't drive, she can't make any money. This is the plight of a lot of Americans right now. We're just one thing after another with this pandemic, and the government's done zero to help people. Right? Oh, here's a couple dollars. That'll hold you over for 2 days. Like, all right.
Wow.
Yeah. It's like, which hole do I cover this month? She said. So the U.S. citizen is considering moving to Guatemala, her home country, or Los Angeles, where she has family. We're all in the same boat, Ramirez said. Actually, there's no boat. I should say we're all drowning together. That's a great quote. We're all drowning together. Wow. That's so sad, isn't it? Oh man. That's sad. Should be a lot more help. There's a lot of people in her position that are single moms, single dads, have kids, and they lost their job and they can't pay for things like a car, and they end up losing the car because they can't pay for that, and now they can't even go make money because now they have no way to make money. They have no way to get to the place to make the money. They go, take the bus. Well, okay, now I'm going to get COVID from taking the bus, so I won't be able to work anyways. If I get COVID, I won't be able to work for 2 months anyways. Then I'm homeless. Oh, man. So here's one. Because of the pandemic, apparently Congress and the Senate have actually started to talk about a relief package. So let's see what this relief package looks like. It says COVID-19 relief bill will not offer $1,200 checks. With time running out, lawmakers on Sunday closed in on a proposed COVID-19 relief bill. Hey, Lily. So with time running out, lawmakers on Sunday closed in on a proposed COVID-19 relief bill that would provide roughly $300 in extra federal weekly unemployment benefits, but not another round of $1,200 in direct deposits to most Americans, leaving that issue for President-elect Joe Biden to wrestle over with the new Congress next year. So I guess we're going to get an extra $300 a week for unemployment, which is good. That's better than nothing. Still not enough for a lot of people. So the $908 billion aid package to be released today would be attached to a larger year-end spending bill needed to avert a government shutdown this coming weekend. The cash payments were popular when they were first distributed after the pandemic hit, and Biden on Friday had expressed hope that a second wave might come after weekend negotiations. But senators involved in the talks said the checks won't be included as part of the compromise, even as Senator Bernie Sanders, independent from Vermont, and others said that could cause them to oppose the measure. Really? So you're going to oppose that part of the measure, so you're not going to have anything? Sweet job. Sweet job, Bernie. Senator Dick Durbin of Illinois, the second-ranking Democrat, indicated that including the checks while assuring small business aid and renters assistance was the only way to reach agreement with Republicans, who are putting firm limits on the bill's final price tag. The $1,200 check, it cost, we believe, nationally $300 billion, to give you an idea, he said. The Democrats have always wanted a larger number, but we were told we wouldn't get anything through the Republicans except this $900 billion bill. The plan being worked on by a group of Republican and Democrat senators, and less than half of the Democrats' push of $2.2 trillion, and nearly double the $500 billion targeted package proposed by Senator Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, Republican from Kentucky. Senator Bill Cassidy, Republican from Louisiana, agreed that a new round of direct checks may be a go at some point. This is not a stimulus bill, it's a relief bill, he said, and it's something for the next 3 or 4 months to help those in the greatest need. Both he and Durbin said that McConnell has shown interest in bipartisan effort, and Cassidy said he was hopeful that President Donald Trump would embrace it as well. The proposal is expected to include about $300 per week and bonus federal unemployment payments, providing relief just as emergency aid payments at regular benefit levels are set to expire at year's end. It would extend a freeze on evictions for people who cannot pay their rent and reauthorizes the Paycheck Protection Program to give a second round of subsidies to businesses struggling through the pandemic. Still, potential sticking points remain. Sanders and Republican Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, a Democrat from New York, said last week they wouldn't support the $908 billion proposal if it did not include checks for families, and they were joined by Senator Josh Hawley, Republican of Missouri. Sanders and Ocasio-Cortez are also against shielding businesses from lawsuits claiming negligence for COVID-19 outbreaks, a provision pushed by Republicans. While favoring the $1,200 checks, Biden said the emerging compromise was immediately needed and the additional assistance could follow later. On Sunday, lawmakers involved in the negotiations said the direct payments would have to wait until after Biden is inaugurated on January 20th. At that time, Biden will face a new Congress as vacancies are being distributed with a narrow Democratic majority in the House and closely divided Senate potentially split 50-50 if Democrats are able to prevail in 2 runoff elections in Georgia on January 5th. So maybe the stimulus stuff is going through. So the first one that would go through, hopefully, that means everybody who's on unemployment, so EDD, is going to get an extra $300 every week. So every 2 weeks, they would get an extra $600. So let's say they're getting, I don't know, $700 now, every 2 weeks. Now they're going to get 600 more every 2 weeks on top of that. So what's 7? So they get basically $1,300 every 2 weeks. Instead of 700, they've almost doubled that. So that'd be good for people that need it. That'd be really good for people that need it. All right, let's see what we got in our local news. That was, national news. Let's see what we got in our local news. Let's see what we got. Anybody doing anything fun this weekend? Anybody? Anybody go swimming? Too cold. That's why I asked. It was way too cold. Way too cold for swimming. I mean, unless you like swimming in the cold weather. Some people do. Let's look at our advice column, huh? We'll do it a little bit later. Let's see what we got here. These aren't very good stories. These are boring stories in here. These are boring stories. I'm sorry. Let's go back in here then. Let's go back to page 6 where we were. Sheltered. Oh, there it is. All right, let's read this one. And this is from, the Bay Area. Wait, did I get that right? Here's my page 6 at. All right. So we're going to look at this one, eviction looms for millions of states' renters. Pandemic pushes tenants, their kids toward the brink of financial disaster. So this because of the pandemic, a lot of people are having financial trouble because of this, because everything's shutting down. So they can't go to work to make money, right? So 2 million Californians could be forced from their rental homes early next year, and the bad omens are appearing now all around them. They are in the credit card bills they stack in a corner. So they are in the, so 2 million Californians could be let's start this all over again. I have difficulties here. Says 2 million Californians could be 2 million Californians could be forced from their rental homes early next year, and the bad omens are appearing now all around them. They're in the credit card bills that they stacked in the corner, the personal relationships they test by borrowing money, the hours waiting on the phone, hoping to get their unemployment claim approved. All of it adding up to debts on paper and holes in their lives. These renters, people like struggling single mother Alita Ramirez of Concord, are on the edge of an eviction cliff. Once they fall, there's no telling how long it will take them to climb back up, especially in a state like California, where nearly everything costs more. So we had just read about Alita Ramirez. That's the one who has the 2 kids, and she's about to get kicked out of her place because she lost 3 jobs she had. Using a U.S. Census survey on how the coronavirus is affecting households across the country, Carolina Reed, associate professor of city and regional planning at UC Berkeley, estimates that there are at least 2 million people, including children, at risk of eviction based on the 600,000 California households that fell behind on rent in August. Since then, the number of renters at risk of eviction has fluctuated, but the number of California adults reporting that they are behind on rent in November has topped 1 million. This really is a crisis that's broad, Reed said, and income losses are hitting households across So income losses are hitting houses across Los Angeles County, among those hitting new highs in reported cases. In Contra County, San Francisco, and Santa Clara counties, the shutdown was set to begin at 10 p.m. Saturday, while it would start 2 hours later in Alameda County, and I think I'm reading the wrong one. Yes, I am. Hold on, I was reading the wrong thing. This really is a crisis that's broad, Reed said, and income losses are hitting households across the spectrum. Recovering from an eviction is almost certainly more difficult in California than any other state. 45% of the state's residents rent their homes. The median fair market rent for a 1-bedroom apartment is $1,522 and $1,922 for a 2-bedroom, according to the National Low-Income Housing Coalition. To afford 1 bedroom, someone working for the state minimum wage of $13 an hour would have to work 90 hours each week. So how are renters getting by in the pandemic? They are racking up debt, leaning on government aid, and asking friends and family for help. This month, the census estimated that more than 3 million California renters turned to credit cards or loans, more than 3 million tapped savings or sold assets, and roughly 2 million borrowed from friends or family. California's mixed response to the economic and housing fallout during the pandemic hasn't helped matters. Some states were quicker with their unemployment payouts, while California's system has been beset by problems both technical and administrative. And without government action, it's estimated that 750,000 Californians will run out of unemployment benefits by the day of Christmas. Beyond that, the state's evictions moratorium expires February 1st, and landlords can take tenants to court starting March 1st. The clock is ticking for California to head off an eviction tsunami for renters. Wow. Wow. So there could be almost 1 million people that get evicted by March because of the pandemic and then not be able to work and make money. Just sad. It's just sad. That should not happen in 2020 in America. It's supposed to be the greatest country ever in the history of the world. But yet we have people that are going to lose their houses through no fault of their own. It's not like they lived above their means and, you know, and like in 2008 crash, right? A lot of people were living above their means and got their house foreclosed on because they were refinancing and buying boats and extra cars. And then when the market crashed, they lost everything. This is not the case. This is a case we have just regular working collar people who were just getting by before, and now with the pandemic, they're not getting by at all. And there's not even any legal remedies for them to make that money up. And you can go the illegal route and become a drug dealer, which I'm sure a lot of people, there's quite a few people in this country who probably have gone that route during this pandemic. They just say, you know what, I can transport drugs or something like that. I don't know, like Breaking Bad. That ain't me though, trust me. The last thing, I'd be in jail for life if I got caught doing that stuff. And knowing me, I'd get caught real quick. My luck ain't that good, trust me. My luck is not that good. All right, now we're gonna look at some advice. So we're gonna look at the advice page, and then we're gonna look at animal life, and then we're gonna look at today in history, and then our last section is gonna be news of the weird. News of the weird. Well, first, we're gonna look at our lovely advice column, which is Ask Amy and Miss Manners. We're gonna start with Miss Manners first. The title of this is Bride Okay Risking Guest Health. So there's a huge pandemic right now. And people, if there's a large group of people, most likely one of those people has coronavirus and they're gonna spread it. So why have a gathering with a large group of people? Like, why would you have a wedding right now? Why? Like, you can wait, but here we go. Dear Miss Manners, is it right that my niece insists on no mask at her wedding? She even has friends watching for masks as people enter the church. Wow. So they're having a wedding and they won't even let their guests wear masks at the wedding. That could be akin to literally murder. I wouldn't do, better watch out. So here's the answer. Gentle reader, only if she has friends who are so eager to see her married that they are willing to risk their health. Miss Manners hopes that the prospective guests will be notified in advance so that they need not dress up, complete with what is now considered a conventional accessory, only be turned away at the door. Yeah. See another one. Dear Miss Manners, each year I host my women friends at an open house holiday party at my house. Most of us are in our 60s or older and are understandably cautious about inside gatherings these days. I can see 5 or 6 ladies at the proper distance inside my living room, and if we are fortunate to have nice enough weather, I can see a slightly larger number outside. Would it be terribly tacky to go ahead with my plans, but send a sign-up sheet and have the ladies indicate the time they might want to come so I won't go over the limit of people? Or should I give up my plans until things hopefully get better in 2021? Well, dear gentle reader, although Miss Manners would be sorry to have you give up, what if your friends are all polite enough to respond immediately? Are you really going to tell them that they still didn't make the cut? Fortunately, there is a precedent for staggering the arrival of guests at an open house, which in normal times might include a great many more people. For example, some invitations would say 2 to 4, and some would say 4 to 6, or even 5 to 7, if you think the early people might stick around too long. As yours will be a small party for close friends, and they will understand the necessity for keeping the gathering small, you can be flexible about allowing them to change time slots. That's a good answer, right? You could just send out, say you have 15 people coming, you could send out invitations, 3 sets of invitations for 5 people each. One that says the party's from 1 to 3, the other one that says it's from 2:30 to 5, and the other 5 that says it's from 4:30 to 5:30. So they're all staggered. So nobody comes, and not all 15 people are there at the same time. So you get them staggered. So at most you're gonna have like 7 people at most. It's a good idea. All right, so let's see what else we got. We got the advice, Ask Amy. The title, Partying Right Now is Unhealthy. That's the title. So partying, so getting your jiggy on right now is unhealthy. Dear Amy, my brother is turning 30 in 2 months. His husband is planning, wait, dear Amy, my brother is turning 30 in 2 months. His husband is planning on an out-of-state surprise birthday weekend, 7 hours away, where he and my brother and their friends will be staying in a large 14-person cabin. So obviously they're going to Lake Tahoe. My family, me, my pregnant wife, and our daughter have been given the option of a smaller, separate cabin. So have our parents. Everyone has eagerly accepted, except for my family and my parents. Our governor is imposing more pandemic restrictions. Anyone traveling out of the state has to quarantine for 2 weeks when returning. My wife and I cannot quarantine for 2 weeks and miss work. We also all live within 10 minutes of each other, so the need for a 30th birthday weekend getaway seems unnecessary to us. That's true. My wife and I have conveyed our hesitance, but my brother-in-law keeps telling us how much my brother deserves this extravaganza. Amy, my brother-in-law has been known to stir the pot and create drama. He has already intimated how disappointed my brother will be. My brother and I have a shaky relationship as it is. He could write me and my family off completely over one false move. Writing off siblings runs in my family. Both of my parents did not speak to any of their siblings, and my grandparents on both sides didn't have relationships with their siblings. Jeez. I don't know what you could possibly argue about to literally not talk to your siblings. I don't understand that. Like, what would you, besides murdering somebody or murdering like your other brother, why would you not want to have contact with them? You know what that is? That's a bunch of narcissistic people. That's what that is. Very narcissistic. That think only their problems matter. Very narcissistic. So let's see what else. So writing off siblings runs in our family. I wanted this cycle of sibling discord to be broken in my generation and not model this same behavior for my children. Should I risk ruining the surprise by letting my brother know in advance that we can't attend? So dear bro, that's the person who wrote the letter. And then Amy's answering the question right now. So dear bro, no one should be planning any kind of group gathering right now. Your brother-in-law knows this and he will likely either have to cancel or change his plans, or he will go ahead with them, but without you and your family. Do not equivocate. Do not draw this out. Tell him that you won't be able to make it to the celebration. State mandates a baby on the way, state mandates a baby on the way, quarantine your family's health and safety. How many reasons do you need? These are all reasons, by the way, not excuses. So again, the reasons are state that you don't have a gathering of a whole bunch of people is because the state mandates. They have a baby on the way. That's a big one. And because you need to quarantine. So the way to deliver a polite RSVP is to respond promptly and to convey your genuine regret at missing the event. Try this. My wife and I have gone back and forth many times because we would really love to be able to come, but we just can't make it happen. We like to send a bottle of champagne to the group, so we'll see if we can get something delivered to that venue. That's a good answer. I don't think you should bother remarking on your brother-in-law's terrible and potentially dangerous judgment. He is an adult and he should know better. If you don't want to perpetuate siblings' estrangement to the next generation, you should coach your own children to always express themselves, listen to one another, apologize when they're wrong, and to forgive one another, which is the most important part. Forgiving each other. Jeez. All right. So that was the advice column. That was okay today. We've had better ones. We've definitely had better ones. So now we're going to go and we're going to look at animal life. Let's see what's in animal life today, huh? Will insurance for pets cover any pre-existing conditions? So insurance for pets, you know that you can get health insurance for your pet? Did you know that? You can get health insurance for like your pet snake, right? You can get life insurance, I think, too, for your pet, which is kind of weird because honestly, if I had like a pet mouse and I got like $100 life insurance, I would just kill it. That sounds terrible, but I would just magically run away. What happened to your goldfish? It magically went down the toilet. Let me get my $50 for his life insurance. All right. So, dear Joanne, can you give me your opinion? Can you give me your opinion or recommendation on pet insurances and rates and rate a few of them? Is it too late once the vet diagnosis is to obtain insurance? I have 2 dogs and 2 cats, 2 of my own and 2 I inherited from my sister. My oldest, Sheltie, is 11 years old and is developing cataracts. The others are 10, 9, and 7. And they make them seem like they're kids. Please don't think bad of me. I've had major hurdles: a house fire, job loss, foreclosure, passing of my parents and sister. My pets are my heroes and are my loves. So, dear Janet, why would I think poorly of someone who's just trying to provide a good home to 4 pets? I admire you. I can't give you a recommendation or ratings. You'll need to do the research yourself, but there are several unbiased resources on the internet that compare and rate companies. You might want to start with Policy Advisor, an independent marketplace for finding pet insurance that meets your needs and budgets. Now, again, that's the company is called Policy. And because it's for pets, Policy is spelled Pawling. Sorry, Policy, Pawlice, like paw, like a cat's paw. Policy, Policy Advisor, because it's pet insurance. Pet insurance policies typically don't cover pre-existing conditions, which is what your pet has if it's already been diagnosed. Some companies, however, will consider covering the pet if the condition is curable, and that would include cataracts. It won't help you in the short run, but it will cover future expenses. If the pet has a non-curable pre-existing condition, insurance companies generally exclude that, although some companies may assist with drug costs and some minor expenses. In these cases, though, you might be better off putting the money you would have spent on a policy into a savings account to use for future treatment. Non-curable conditions include arthritis, cancer, diabetes, hip dysplasia, some kidney disease, torn cruciate ligament, and disc problems. Talk to the different companies to be certain what is and isn't covered, how much the policy is likely to pay, and whether the insurance company reimburses the vet or you. Then read the fine print to make sure you have it in writing. Good luck. How about that? So pet insurance. Interesting, isn't it? I would never get pet insurance. There's no point for that. I love my pets, but don't need pet insurance. That's when you know you live in a very good time of stability, right? When you can get pet insurance, you know you're living in a good time, right? I doubt in like 1943 in Europe they were thinking about getting pet insurance for a dog. They were at war. Yeah, we live in a very interesting good time. So now we're gonna do today in history. And again, today is December 7th, 2020. I almost said 1941, but I wasn't even born yet. But it's December 7th, 2020. And on this day in 1787, so December 7th, 1787, Delaware became the first state to ratify the US Constitution. So how about that? December 7th, 1909. In his State of the Union address, President William Howard Taft defended the decision to base US naval operations in the Pacific at Pearl Harbor in Hawaii instead of the Philippines. I think that was good and bad. Yeah. December 7th, 1941. What happened that day? What happened on that day?
I don't know. I'm going December 9th.
I know, but December 7th, 1941, what happened that day? It lived in infamy. Let's find out. December 7th, 1941, the Empire of Japan launched an air raid on the US Navy base at Pearl Harbor in Hawaii, as well as targets in Malaya, Hong Kong, Guam, the Philippines, and Wake Island. So how about that? I didn't know that they targeted Hong Kong. I did not know that. Yeah, I knew they had in Malaya and Guam and the Philippines and Wake Island, but I did not know about Hong Kong, that they bombed part of Hong Kong. I did not know that. December 7th, 1972. America's last moon mission to date was launched as Apollo 17 blasted off from Cape Canaveral. So that was the last time a human being was on the moon. Was in 1972. How about that? And then after that, no more moon missions after that. So no human has been back to the moon since 1972. Now aliens, all the time. All right, let's look at our news of the weird. Let's finish off the news of the weird. And this one's called Modern Day Goldilocks. Again, this is news of the weird, and it's Modern Day Goldilocks. Let's read this. Police in Kansas City, Kansas, responded to a call on November 27th from a man who said he returned home around 4 p.m. that day to find a stranger in his house. The unnamed suspect was wearing the victim's clothing, had made a sandwich, and cooked and ate ramen noodles, and when police arrived, was fast asleep in the victim's bed. Fox 4 reported the man was arrested and booked in the Wyandotte County Jail, where the beds are surely way too hard. Get it, Goldilocks? The Goldilocks story. Little Goldilocks goes to the three bears' house, and he sees the porridge soup there, and she eats the daddy's porridge. Ooh, this is way too hot. Eats the mom's. Ooh, this is too cold. Eats the baby bears. Ooh, this is perfect. And then sleeps in their bed. Like, oh, this is way too hard. Oh, this is way too soft. Oh, this is perfect. That's Goldilocks story. What they don't tell you is the bears come home and Goldilocks get ripped apart by the bears. Because obviously if bears came home and there was some little girl eating their food, he pissed off bears. But this guy broke into this person's house in Kansas City, Kansas, ate their food, and was sleeping in their bed.
He was crazy.
I know, had to be. Or he was looking for some food and a meal. So everybody, thank you again. My name is Diallo. Thank you for joining me for our Current Events Monday on this day, December 7th, 2020. Have a wonderful day. For those of you in the military, thank you for your service. Okay, my name is Diallo. I will see you next time.